Good evening, everyone. I'm Sharice Gibson.
And I'm Katie Moore. One day after officials broke up a protest at the Orleans Justice Center, we're hearing from the mother of an inmate and from the sheriff herself.
Well, the inmates took over their pod this past weekend, sending jail officials a list of demands. It's the most recent controversy for the new head of this jail, Sheriff Susan Hudson. Erica Ferrando joining us in studio right now to talk more about this. This was kind of the talk around everywhere this weekend.
It was, and we heard from Sheriff Hudson today, who said the standoff with inmates and deputies started Friday afternoon around 4. Those inmates handed over a handwritten list of requests, and their protest from inside the pod lasted 2 full days, finally ending last night.
I understand they are prisoners. They're not supposed to get luxury, but they are human.
Duana Jackson is anxiously waiting to hear from her son, one of the 44 inmates who is in a high security pod and barricaded themselves in over the weekend.
So if he's okay, why is he not able to call? Or even has he had something to eat yet? So those are my concerns for my child.
I believe they said they were ready to go to war.
Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson spoke to city council members Monday, explaining the standoff with sheriff's deputies and inmates started Friday when jail staff was doing a formal count of residents which required them to go to their cells, but they refused.
The highest security pod has experienced a number of violent issues, and so we can't have them all out at one time.
For the next 48 hours, they barricaded themselves in their pod. Inmates shouted to those outside that they hadn't eaten or had access to water since Thursday. Sheriff Hudson said they were offered food, water, and medication several times but refused to take it. The sheriff told deputies not to use force if they don't have to, and the standoff was nonviolent at first.
They were doing the limbo and dancing, and it was basically a no violent situation. We get to Sunday, that changed.
Sheriff Hudson says there were 6 so-called ringleaders of the protest.
They started to make weapons. They broke their brooms. They started to cover their faces.
And Sunday, inmates triggered the sprinkler system, flooding the area, then attempting to break the pod glass door, according to Hudson. The Department of Corrections stepped in, entering the pod around 8:30 p.m. Sunday, setting off non-lethal weapons like sting ball grenades. The 6 protest leaders were transferred from the OJC to a maximum security corrections facility. One person was taken to a hospital.
And that was the individual who had previously refused his medicine because he was a diabetic.
And 5 other inmates reported injuries like scrapes.
We haven't seen the reports yet back about what the actual injuries were.
Sheriff Hudson says her office is looking into the requests of the inmates that they shared in a handwritten letter. It includes less time in lockdown, books, a second TV, and to be taken to court on the court-appointed date, as they claim transportation doesn't always show up.
My son was one of them. He was supposed to be taken to court on a certain day and was not.
The main thing that I hear in these grievances is they want to be out from the morning to about 10:30 at night, which is not doable with the staff that we have. That's the only one. The rest of them are all reasonable, provided we can get to them.
Sheriff Hudson took office in May, and she said since then she's been looking into the problems, one of them being security issues with the doors to the inmates pod. And that's one of the issues she addressed today that she said she wants to fix. And on top of that, she has a staffing shortage and is actively trying to hire people.